this is essentially our Bible. It's the way of abiding. It summarizes the way of abiding. And that includes whether you're standing, sitting, sleeping, waking, walking, whatever. And it basically synthesizes these, what they're called the four great Dzogchen Samayas of ineffability, openness, presence, and oneness. And so we've already gone through ineffability and openness. And now we're on the section of presence, pure presence, or spontaneous presence, as it's known. And so, of course, this is by Longchen, also known as Longchen Rabjam. He's a yogi from the 1300s. And it was during a time of preservation where he essentially made this intertextual manual here on the way of abiding, and it has citations from the root scriptures, like the Kunya Gyalpo or the Kulaya Raja Tantra, and all these, the six expanses, the Great Garuda, the Pearl Garland Tantra, so many are cited in here. So we'll just get right into the root verses. We're sort of doing stanza by stanza. And of course, this is translated by Richard Barron, also known as Chökyi Nyima. In 1998, it was published. And so it says here, the three kayas are shown to be supreme spontaneous presence. Now, before we go into the root verses, anybody want to remind us what the three kayas are? Anyone remember those? All right, too slow. Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya. Oh, Tim got it right as I was saying it. Okay, very good. And so remember, you can always compare things to a dream. When you go to sleep and you dream of a tree, where's that dream happening? That's Dharmakaya, that's the space. What's making that dream? That's the cognition, the Sambhogakaya clarity aspect. And the tree itself is the energy of your cognition. So there does become a symmetry there between your cognition and the appearances. And of course, there's a union of the three kayas because that cognition, just like a person in a mirror, the cognition looks in the mirror of the Dharmakaya and appearances appear. So if you think tree on a very lucid level, a tree will appear. It'll co-emerge as spontaneous presence. So your mind is doing this in a dream. It's actually giving us a lot of information in a dream because your mind is also multi-dimensionalizing itself, subdividing itself. So you create this forest in a dream, and then somehow you can be a character in the dream. And so you're actually looking at this forest that your mind is creating, and now you're having a subjective experience of that forest that your mind is creating. You see? And now you can start to weigh. You can say, well, I'm having thoughts about this forest. That's going to weigh a little bit more. It's going to be more coarse cognition. You're having thoughts about a forest that you're creating in a subjectivity that you've divided. Pretty crazy. And so the fact that your mind can do an inception like that and kind of multi-dimensionalize itself like that is really high tech, but also can manifest as trickery. We can get lost in subjectivity, and it's incredibly uncomfortable. But remember what I was saying, every one of you is, compared to the great Garuda, this bird, this mythological bird that has wings inside of the egg already. It already has the wings, it's ready to fly. Well, just like that, you are a Buddha, you are an enlightened being. And oftentimes we struggle with that because we get lost in this dream and we lose the fact that we're encoded essentially for this great power. This power is in us. And like I was saying last session, we tend to get impatient and we rumble around within our eggshells because um, that power is there and there's a slight conflict. I'm supposed to be a Buddha, but I'm in this eggshell. And that's like the flower being in a sprout and saying, I'm supposed to be a giant lotus. What's going on here? And we get a little impatient. So Dzogchen is about letting yourself be a sprout, letting yourself be uh, a baby flower. Let that be, and it'll blossom into the most beautiful lotus you have ever seen. Mhm. So anyway, I'm just going into the three kayas here a little bit so that these root verses make sense to the people in this session. Okay? And so the root verses go like this. When lights of 5 colors shine without obstruction from a crystal, these lights are perceived as distinct colors, yet none is better or worse. They are the dynamic energy of a single crystal sphere. Self-knowing awareness, the ground of being, is similar to that crystal sphere. Its emptiness is the nature of Dharmakaya. Its naturally radiant lucidity is Sambhogakaya, and its unceasing avenue as the ground for arising is Nirmanakaya. And sometimes there's a slight conflation in there because, excuse me, let me read the last line. The three kayas are spontaneously present in basic space as the ground of being. So, very much matching our preface here. But I want to mention that radiant lucidity is explored through dream yoga practices, bardo practices, transference of consciousness practices, all kinds of stuff, even Togyal. So the idea here is that if I was to go completely silent on you, there's still mind happening. We're still talking. But going completely silent is like riding a bike for the first time. No training wheels. It's scary, so you want to think again. You want to go back to your course mind where it's safe. So we begin to become comfortable in our intuitive lucidity. And the teachings even get specific about this. They say even people who are more intuitive, more inclined towards intuition, they would traditionally say the females, they will understand it. They will recognize this sooner or easier than perhaps somebody who's more analytical. Now, I don't know what the stats are on that, so I'm not going to speculate myself, but it does make sense that people who are less cerebral, more in their heart, more in their intuition, that they will be able to catch the lucid mind that's here. So this explains it just like we said, the emptiness, uh, when you have a dream, even though the tree appears, it's empty, it doesn't exist. If you dream of 10 trees, they don't exist either. If you dream of a tree that's, 500 feet or meters, depending where you're from, high, it's still nothing but pure consciousness, pure cognition. And the leaves on the tree aren't any different than the bark in terms of cognition. So there's a great evenness there. So the radiant lucidity is Sambhogakaya. And here there's a slight discrepancy because its unceasing avenue as the ground for arising is Nirmanakaya. So we're kind of combining, we're saying the tree, the energy of your mind is Nirmanakaya, but also the ability to reflect, the reflexivity or the reflectivity, both of those can apply. If I dream tree and it appears, it's symmetrical in that respect. As soon as I, on a lucid level, weave together this tree from cognition, it appears as a construct, as an empty appearance. Everybody understand that? If you get this, it's found in other traditions, it's found in other religions. That's why I'm reiterating a little bit here, because if you get this, you get the Great Trinity, the famous triad. Uh, it's truly it's the key to decode everything. Okay, so your awareness is compared to a prism or a crystal, even depends on context. And then now in recent years in quantum physics, they're talking about empty space as a prism. So it's very interesting. So Longchenpa's auto commentary on this verse says, since a crystal and the lights of five colors shining from it are of one basic space, none is better or worse. By analogy, empty awareness, comparable to the crystal, is Dharmakaya. The lucid aspect of awareness, the lights of five colors shining from the crystal, is Sambhogakaya. The aspect of an unobstructed avenue for phenomenon to arise, corresponding to the capacity of the crystal to admit light, even before it does so, is Nirmanakaya. And that's where I would say we get a little bit more specific, because where's the energy then, right? Well, I guess you could say, you'd have to say that the five lights can, see, the translator may have even had this a little mixed up, but for all I know. But typically, I would associate the ability to shine the five colors and crystallize them and reify them into the elements. I would associate that with Sambhogakaya. The ability to do that is related to clarity and lucidity. And then whatever display, whatever energy there is Nirmanakaya. So let's say it never ever has any energy. It just sits there before, like it says here, before it ever admits. I would say that there's no Nirmanakaya then. You're just sitting there with the ability to create a Nirmanakaya. But different traditions talk in different terms. This is just the way I would phrase it for those Dharma nerds out there that are getting very specific. If you're not catching on to this, it is totally fine. It gets a little crazy. But maybe you can think of, like the Pink Floyd album, where this luminosity goes through a prism, and there are five colors. There are really four, with clear light being the basis. Clear light is the prism. So people also get that mixed up. And through perhaps 600, 700 years, some nuances have been lost. But I think it's more useful if you're going to try to figure this out to see your mind awareness has the ability to basically um, create anything, manifest anything, including solidity, the feeling of solid stuff. We can do that in a dream, and we can do that in the so-called waking state. So I won't go into it too much more, because we are talking about something that's outside of conceptual sort of bounds, but I think you get the point. So, since these three kayas of the ground of being are of the same essence, which is empty, ultimately none is better or worse. Rupakaya, which arises from the ground, manifesting for those to be tamed, and Dharmakaya are neither better nor worse than one another, because they are a magical display of a single awareness, awakened mind, and that which manifests as its dynamic energy. Yeah, so using the schematic above, where would dynamic energy plug into that? So something was lost in translation there. Just from my vantage point right now, anyway. So here's an intertextual citation. Longchenpa is using the all-creating monarch, which is your mind. I, the all-creating one, am the essence of the three kayas. I am the essence that is Dharmakaya, free of elaboration, abiding in non-conceptual evenness. I am Sambhogakaya, which fulfills all desires, the nature that is the magical display of events unfolding. I am the essence of Nirmanakaya, responsiveness ensuring benefit by taming in whatever way is necessary. And so you see, responsiveness there can be synonymous with appearances because it says responsiveness, ensuring benefit by taming in whatever way is necessary. Whatever way is the appearances, different realities that appear for beings who are lost in desire or anger or confusion. And so this world appears for them until they get unlost. It's going to keep appearing for them until they get unlost. So the all illuminating sphere states, which is another tantra, totally pure by nature, like a crystal statue, Dharmakaya is flawless, unobstructed, and pristine. Although the apparent phenomenon of earth, water, fire, air, and space do in fact manifest with characteristics to a mind that lacks realization, they manifest, yet are ineffable by nature. They are evident as the radiance of timeless awareness. For example, although a rainbow appears clearly in the sky, it does not exist apart from the sky, it only seems to. It abides within the context of the sky and, like the sky, cannot be separated from that. In the space within which the nature of phenomenon and Dharmakaya are inseparable, the radiance of timeless awareness is naturally arising, naturally manifest, and naturally lucid. Ceaselessly evident, it seems to exist apart from that space. Lucid and non-conceptual, timeless awareness is Dharmakaya. Manifesting naturally in itself, Sambhogakaya is timelessly awakened. Responsiveness is Nirmanakaya, in which dualistic limitations are totally and innately pure. Ah, very nice. So we'll pause it there. I think there's a root verse coming up next, right, Yeshi? Yes, okay. Very good. So that's a little bit more on spontaneous presence on the section here. Thank you everybody for hanging out with me during this text exploration. There's always more to learn and more to explore. We are finished with the Naguma text because it's just a little bit too much provisional stuff in there and Mahayana stuff for now. The new people that are flowing in, I want them to have access to the simplicity of Dzogchen, of our approach of Dzogchen especially. And I also noticed as we're digging through these Mahayana texts, Mahayana people were showing up. Isn't that interesting? Kind of weird. So we're going to get back to the Dzogchen text, and maybe more Dzogchen people will show up. The Mahayana police showed up. Yeah, somebody called 108 on us. But I got something for them. I want to go over to Yeshi Dorje Lochang saying soon, and that's a Galupa text. So yeah, any final thoughts, comments, questions? Just go ahead. Chris is saying, "Are this some effortless Dzogchen group?" Yeah, that and I'll get more clear on that. It's probably my fault for not being totally explicit when I needed to be, but I basically share and what's come out of this group pure effortlessness, and in order to engage in pure effortlessness, you have to sort of get there, and we have to verify. It'd be irresponsible for us to just tell you do nothing, do nothing, do nothing when you don't have awareness there with you, you don't have compassion with you, you don't have diligence and all this stuff. So, but anyway, doing nothing about your emotional upheaval and affliction or whatever is powerful even outside of Dzogchen. So I'm not that worried about it. They just make a big deal out of it, people make a big deal. Oh, you're telling people to do effortlessness. You're already doing effortlessness. Anyway. Okay, everybody. So we'll end here. I think so. With the 3 Tara mantras. There are lots of beings in this presence. That could be suffering or confused, and so we just dedicate these mantras to them. And also to our sangha, may they have healing and nourishment. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Mama Yo Onye Jana Uten Kuru So Om Dare Tu Dare Ture Mama Onye Jana Uten Kuru So Om Dare Tu Dare Ture Mama Yo Onye Jana Uten Guru So. We'll take a moment of silence for the dedication. Oh, yeah, very amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, to be here with you. Have a beautiful day. See you.